Breakfast Club Sunday night viewers. It is Sunday, May 30th, and we are here again for our bi-weekly video. Commissioner Dorantes, how are you?
Hey Ken, and we have to prepare people
Gotta
because we
prepare.
know we have regulars that we're going to be cutting back on these. I know that so many of you have appreciated how we've stayed connected. We're not going to pull the Band-Aid off for you, so you'll still be able to sit and chat with us virtually for the next couple of weeks. But we'll scale back because we want to be able to see people in person.
Absolutely, absolutely. So speaking of seeing people in person, this past week you were all over the state at press conferences with Governor Lamont, and then an opening with one of our great private providers, which then led us all to think, wow, springtime, summertime, graduations,
Yeah,
mass
yeah.
restrictions.
Oh my gosh, we had a ribbon cuttings out in New Haven, and we got to see some of our New Haven staff who are down there that either are foster parents or work closely with CCP. And so it was great, to really start to see people in person. Shout out to all of the folks that have seen us along the way. We were out at the Hole in the Wall gang camp with the governor. That place was incredible. It's the camp that families that have kids that are chronically ill can go for free. So, if you have kids on your medically complex caseload, make sure that you check that out because it's incredible. I'd never been out there before. Really, really nice. And I think that's a good opportunity for us to also highlight the fact that we have those camperships that are available to kids on our caseloads, either in the sibling connection camp, that Channel 3 Kids camp, and then there's another law enforcement week that we've got some additional camperships. Please do not let any of those slots go unfilled. Let's make sure that kids have a fantastic summer. Our beaches are open, our museums, our parks, our hiking trail, all those things that kind of keep kids moving and keep getting them kind of back outside. Or in the governor's quote this week on the Hartford Current, get out of the damn house. Start to appreciate the summer.
Well, I think the quote of the press conference, I think it was on Thursday, was really when you talked about when kids can go to camp, they can take their masks off and see somebody actually smiling back at them. I mean, we're seeing people's mouths and smiles and, reading their body language and facial expressions now like we haven't been able to do in oh so long.
Kids get their cues from us, and it's been hard for kids to be able to read our cues, and what they've been able to feed off of is the anxiety of adults. So we have to make sure that we set the example that because we've been vigilant, because we have a low transmission rate and a low positivity rate, we can start to resume some of the things that were pre-pandemic. As we start to ease back into our offices, don't overcomplicate things, guys. If you're sitting at your desk, don't have the mask on. If you're in a common area, put the mask on. We want to make sure that the best way that you can ensure that you are protected is to be vaccinated. It's not a mandatory thing because of the emergency use authorization, but personal responsibility and making sure that when we're conducting the business of the agency in risky situations, if there's a lot of people around, put the mask on. If you are in a situation where you're by yourself working independently, you can make that choice on your own. And I think, without overcomplicating things, that's the rules to kind of abide by.
Yeah. And along those lines, we know there's a couple questions that continue to come up on the COVID-19 mailbox regarding re-entry, not reopening because we're open, re-entry into our building. So you handled the one about the masks. Two other questions are, do I have to come back between now and July 1st? And what happens on July 1st if I'm not on the approved interim telework guideline list?
Right. So next week is June 1st, and that's when our office is open to the public. So we know that a lot of our leaders in our respective places are coming up with a coverage schedule to make sure that walk-ins can be addressed, making sure that our mission critical work that has to happen in person is being done. So with the exception of those, anytime that between now and July 1st that you're expected to come in is voluntary. We've been pretty clear about that. I've heard a lot of people, coming in, testing the waters. We've gotten some inquiry into our COVID-19 mailbox, and people are starting to feel okay. When you think about the adjustments that people have to make, there is some time still to make some plans for what you will need to do after July 1st. Right now, the telework agreement that stands is the one that we circulated before. We'll put it again in this memo to make sure, please read it. A lot of questions that are coming in to HR and to the mailbox are contained in that memo. If you have questions or disagreements with that, talk through your collective bargaining units, because that's what's being negotiated right now. So that's where your voice is. I can advocate for the things that as an agency has worked well in the telework environment, but you individually that belong to bargaining units have a voice through those chains.
Great. So between now and July 1st, voluntary, unless there's an operating need and your manager says, I need you to come in, continue to work with your bargaining units on your own advocacy for your inclusion on the interim telework agreements. Before we get into the weekly statistics, Commissioner, we did also want to highlight that this past Friday, we sent out our Spotlight on What's Right newsletter. And wow, talk about 3 just fantastic stories. First one is about a 16-year-old youth named Raisa who is in our care, and actually we quoted her, and she said, being in foster care has been a privilege. She's going to graduate high school in a couple weeks at age 16. We highlighted Trung Lee. So many of us know Trung as a manager in Danbury. Very few know his journey to get to the department. He actually escaped Vietnam as a young boy, coming here and learning the language and becoming the person
Don't
he is.
Don't be a spoiler. Make sure they read the Spotlight.
Right. There you go, right? And lastly,
Kevin's one of those people that will tell you up to the last cliffhanger of the movie. Don't tell them. You got to read the Spotlight.
Netflix would probably sue me, right?
Right.
And,
but no, the stories related to the child in foster care that is just killing it academically. You know, we're wrapping up the end of the school year. We want our kids to finish strong. We want there to be recovery over the summer so they can enter the next part of the in the fall strong. But that story is also one of perseverance. And we also talk about QPI. We had a ton of our staff that participated in the national conference this year. So Natalia talks about QPI in the Spotlight and just what that is, and you know how we are shifting about how we do business. That it's normal. It's a natural way to conduct our work. So some real good stuff in the Spotlight. And let me tell you, the teaser for the stats that we're about to give, the Spotlight on What's Right, is that there's been no new staff positives since the last video. I know we're going to get into the details of that for anyone who doesn't want to listen, but listen, turning the curve is turning the curve, you know, really recognizing that we're starting to emerge differently from this pandemic. So let's talk about the statistics. But in the meantime, everybody have a great, safe Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy some time off, exhale. Let's get this thing back on track as far as reentry and, you know, resuming things the way that we know how to do, and enjoy the summer, just in making sure that our kids, your kids and families enjoy the summer too.
Right. So statistics, 372 caregivers, 308 youth, and right around 400 staff. So
with no new staff since our last video. That's incredible. I mean, you know, people are being vigilant, they're being vaccinated, they are really being careful. And so I think as we continue to interface with each other even more, we'll keep an eye on those numbers. We're making sure that we'll continue to contact trace. We've been able to stop the surveillance testing at our facilities that had been part of the regular testing cadence, but DPH has said that that's no longer necessary in settings. We know we had a little blip on the radar at Solent North that they're taking care of, and the mitigation strategies are fully underway over there. So we're emerging stronger from this, and we've learned a lot about epidemiology in the last year.
No quiz, but we learned a whole lot. So great. Commissioner, have a great long weekend. Rest up, and as you said, we're going to adjust our video schedule accordingly, so we'll get back to staff in due time.
Right. Have a great weekend, everyone.